Set in the sunny region of Andalusia in southern Spain, Córdoba is an easy day trip from popular destinations like Seville and Malaga. Home to narrow streets, colourful flowers and historical landmarks, including one of the most famous monuments in the country, Córdoba is somewhere you won't regret adding to your Spain itinerary. In this travel guide, I'll share how we spent one day in Córdoba to help give you ideas for things to see and do on your visit. I'll also include practical information and handy tips along the way. Once arriving into Córdoba train station at around 8:45 am, we took a pleasant stroll through Jardines de la Agricultura. You can wander through the nice cooling shade of the tall trees for around 15 minutes until you reach the edge of the historic centre, where you'll be greeted by the Almodóvar Gate set in the old city walls. Our first proper stop of the itinerary was La Mesquita Bell Tower, where we joined the first group of the day to climb to the top. Standing at around 54 metres above the city, this is the tallest building in Córdoba. Make your way up 3 floors, each one offering a great view of the city. Look down across the courtyard filled with orange trees, take in the views of the magnificent Mesquita and gaze across the city rooftops. I would recommend booking the bell tower in advance as there isn't much room up there and only a small number of places are available for each time slot. The timed visit was around 20 minutes and because we booked the 9:30 slot we were back outside again just in time for the 10 am Mesquita opening. If you only do one thing on your trip to Córdoba, it should be to go inside the remarkable Mosque Cathedral. Walking into La Mesquita is a mesmerising experience. Greeted by the earthy smell of incense, we walked underneath rows of tall columns linked by red and white arches that made the spacious interior feel almost endless. The Great Mosque was originally built in 785 but was converted to a cathedral after the Christian conquest in 1236. This UNESCO World Heritage Site is now a unique monument to both Islam and Christianity and a captivating example of Islamic architecture. Many people spend around 1 to 2 hours at La Mesquita, so allow yourself plenty of time to explore and take it all in. I would say we were there for around 90 minutes. If you haven't booked your ticket in advance, you can buy tickets at the back of the courtyard, subject to availability of course. As there was one queue to buy tickets and then a separate queue to enter La Mesquita, we just ordered the tickets on my phone while we were waiting in the entry line rather than queuing twice, so there's a little time saver for you. You also have the option of purchasing a ticket for the special Soul of Córdoba light and sound show if you are visiting after dark. We were headed back to Seville the same day, so unfortunately we weren't able to see this ourselves, however reviews from other visitors who saw the show were overwhelmingly positive. After exiting La Mesquita, we ambled 5 minutes to the Roman Bridge. This historical bridge was first built in the 1st century BC, although not much is left of the original as it's been restored and renovated several times. If you start crossing the bridge, stop and look back, then you'll have a lovely view of the Renaissance Gate, which was built to commemorate a visit from King Philip II. Another Roman landmark you could visit during your trip is the Roman Temple. Unfortunately, we didn't manage to squeeze it into our day, but I wanted to point it out as it is a possibility for your trip. At the other side of the bridge is the Calahorra Tower, which is a fortified gate that was originally built by the Moors to defend the city. Now it houses a small museum, although we didn't go inside on our trip. We do still think it's worth crossing the bridge to take a closer look at the tower, even if you don't go to the museum. By now we were getting hungry. It was a little on the early side for lunch in Córdoba, but because we'd had an early start to the day, we were very ready to eat and places were starting to open. We had wanted to try a restaurant called El Paseo Iberico, but they seemed to be having some problems opening up, so we picked a different restaurant at random called Taberna La Alqueria. Having not really researched this one in advance, we weren't sure how good it would be, but fortunately we did enjoy the tapas and it was a really nice place to sit. We had homemade croquettes, marinated anchovies, artichoke with Iberian ham, and samarejo, which is a cold creamy tomato soup that, as you can see here, was topped with egg and cured ham, perfect on a hot day. After lunch, we walked around 15 minutes or so to the Alcazar of the Christian monarchs, also known as the Alcazar of Córdoba. This opulent palace was built in the ruins of a Moorish fort in the 1300s after Córdoba was conquered by the Christian forces. Today, it's another one of Córdoba's UNESCO World Heritage Sites. Walk through the fortress and patios, see the absolutely huge and very impressive Roman mosaics, and stroll through the serene palace gardens just outside the main castle walls. Ponds and fountains are lined by colourful flowers, neatly pruned trees and tall sculptures. Look out for the drinking fountain in the gardens. If you're visiting Cordoba during the warmer months, then it can get pretty hot, so take any opportunity you can to stay hydrated. Opening times for the Alcazar do depend on the season, so make sure you check the website before you go. We bought tickets at the entrance for €5 a person and spent at least an hour here, so I would say allocate around 1 to 2 hours for your visit. After leaving the Alcazar, we explored the streets of the historic city centre, starting with the very picturesque neighbourhood of San Basilio. Admire the whitewashed buildings, colourful doors and ceramic pots filled with vibrant flowers. If you visit Cordoba during the first 2 weeks of May, your visit is likely to coincide with the renowned Patio Festival. During this time, dozens of homes open their flower-filled patios to the public so you can admire the beautiful displays. If, like us, you visit the city outside of the festival, then there are other options to see some of Cordoba's patios, either through a guided tour or by visiting Palacio de Viena, a Renaissance palace that is home to 12 patios. We had hoped to go during our trip but realised we weren't going to have time. However, I wanted to mention it in case you would like to visit the palace yourself. From San Basilio, we meandered through the Jewish quarter. Slowly wander the narrow streets set in the traditional Islamic layout of 2 central intersecting streets surrounded by a maze of smaller streets and dead ends. Stop by the Plaza Maimonides, the Chapel of San Bartolome and the synagogue, which is one of only 3 synagogues left in Spain. The Mudahar-style synagogue is only tiny, but it's free to enter, so stop by, take a look inside and see the inscriptions preserved on the walls. While exploring the historic centre, many people look for the famous Calleja de las Flores. What must be hundreds of flowers hang off the whitewashed walls of this narrow street, which leads up to a small pretty plaza. As this is arguably the prettiest street in Cordoba, then every other tourist will be visiting too. After squishing our way up the tiny street, I think in retrospect we would have been better visiting first thing in the morning on our way to La Mesquita. Perhaps it would have been less crowded. Nevertheless, the street is still worth a quick walk up regardless of what time you visit. After spending a while longer walking the pretty streets and having a mooch around the shops, it was time to catch our train back to Seville. While we did only visit for the day, we left wishing we'd been there for at least 2, as you can't see all the sights Cordoba has to offer in one day. If you're visiting for longer than we did, or you simply want to switch something that we suggested out for a different activity, then some other popular attractions in Cordoba include the Royal Stables and Andalusian Horses of Cordoba, the main squares and several museums including the Archaeological and Ethnological Museum of Cordoba, the Julio Romero de Torres Museum, the Museum of Fine Arts and the Casa de Sefarad, where you can learn more about the local Jewish heritage. As you can see, ideally you do want longer than a day, but sometimes a day is all you have, so I hope this video helped give you ideas for your itinerary. The easiest way to travel to Cordoba is by train, and the regular high-speed trains make it an easy day trip from cities like Seville, which, like we said, is where we travelled from. When you book the train, you can choose from a high-speed train which takes around 45 minutes, or the slower regional train which takes about 1 hour 20 minutes, but it is cheaper. If you're looking for other ideas of things to do on your trip to the beautiful Andalusia region of Spain, then we do have a 3-day itinerary for Seville which I will link here. Thanks for watching, I hope this video was helpful.